Hey everyone, welcome to another deep dive with us.
I'm glad to be here.
Today we're jumping on board the Terror Train.
Oh, yeah, the 1980 slasher.
It takes the whole, party gone wrong idea but sticks it on a train.
Yeah, it's more than just your average slasher, though.
Totally.
It really uses that setting to, tap into those fears
Oh,
of
yeah.
being trapped,
Yeah.
not just physically, but also by those past mistakes you've made.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, it's like that feeling when you realize you're on a runaway train,
All right.
but you're not just scared for your life.
Yeah.
You're facing the consequences
Yes.
of your actions.
Mhm.
Okay. So, before we get too deep into it,
Sure.
let's set the stage.
Okay.
So the movie follows this group of college students
Right.
who decide to have a New Year's Eve costume party on a train
Sounds fun.
at first.
Yeah, until it's not.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially when you consider, they're haunted by this prank from their past.
Oh, yeah.
A prank that, went very wrong and traumatized this student.
Yeah. Kenny.
Yes.
And now somebody dressed as Kenny is out for revenge.
Spooky.
And they're using the costumes to blend in.
Oh, that's clever.
Yeah.
And pick off these partygoers.
One by one.
Talk about a killer costume party.
Right.
And the fact that everyone is masked
Yeah.
really adds to that paranoia.
Absolutely.
You never know who's behind the mask.
Yeah, you're always kept guessing.
Keeps you on the edge of your seat.
Mm-hmm.
It's like hide and seek,
Yes.
but deadly.
With much higher stakes.
Exactly. And that's where the brilliance of the film's costume design comes in.
Yeah, on one level, it's fun and festive.
Right.
Adds to that party atmosphere.
Yeah.
But then on a deeper level, those masks become a metaphor
I like that.
for how we hide our true selves.
Ooh.
We present this facade to the world.
Yeah.
And it also reflects the characters' inability to truly see each other.
Uh-huh.
They're blinded by their own guilt.
Interesting.
Secrets.
So we've got this eerie setting,
Yeah.
a masked killer with a score to settle.
With an agenda.
And these characters grappling with their past.
It's like a pressure cooker
Uh-huh.
of suspense and moral reckoning.
I like that. So the train becomes this microcosm of society.
Exactly.
Where the past can't be outrun.
They're literally trapped on this train,
Mm-hmm.
but they're also metaphorically trapped
Yeah.
by their past actions.
Right.
There is no escape.
What if there's no escape?
And that confinement just
Yeah.
amplifies that psychological tension.
Speaking of tension, let's talk about Jamie Lee Curtis.
Oh, yeah.
She plays Alana,
Right?
and unlike some horror film characters,
Yeah.
she's not just waiting around to be the victim.
That's it, your typical damsel in distress.
Right. In horror, we often see this final girl who
Right.
survives
Yeah.
by being resourceful and strong. But Alana takes it a step further.
She does.
She shows empathy
She shows empathy.
for the people who wronged Kenny.
Yeah, she's trying to understand the root of the problem
Okay.
instead of just reacting to the terror.
She's a breath of fresh air in a genre that often relies on those helpless victims.
Exactly.
And her performance adds a layer of complexity to the film.
It does.
She's not just running and screaming.
Right.
She's actively trying to figure out who the killer is
Yeah.
and stop them.
Mm-hmm.
But the killer remains a mystery for most of the film.
Right.
Constantly changing costumes.
Changing identities.
Like they represent the faceless nature of trauma itself.
It's true. The killer shifting identity adds to that psychological depth.
Yeah,
Makes us question our own perceptions of people
it does.
and how well we truly know anyone.
Mm-hmm.
Also plays into that idea of wearing masks,
Yeah.
both literally and figuratively.
This is getting really interesting. We've got these fascinating themes of hidden identities,
Mm-hmm.
the consequences of our actions, and the lingering effects of trauma.
Absolutely.
But before we go any further, let's take a step back
Okay.
and look at how the director creates that chilling atmosphere
Yeah.
that pervades the entire film.
Good idea.
All right, so we're back on the Terror Train.
Back on board.
And let's dive into the director's toolbox here and
Yeah.
see how he, cranks up the suspense.
Well, one of the first things you notice is the lighting.
Okay.
Instead of bright open spaces, we're kind of plunged into darkness.
Yeah.
Just glimpses of the characters and their surroundings.
So, the darkness itself becomes, a source of fear.
Exactly. It creates this sense of unease.
Okay.
Like something could be lurking just out of sight.
Right.
You know that feeling when you're walking down a dark hallway?
Oh, yeah.
Your senses are heightened. Every creak, every shadow
Yeah.
makes you jump.
Mm-hmm.
He uses darkness to tap into that, primal fear of the unknown.
I like it. It's like the darkness becomes a character
Yeah.
in and of itself.
Adds to the suspense.
And then you have these sudden bursts of light,
Okay.
like a flash of lightning
Yeah.
or a passing train's headlights that momentarily illuminate like a terrified face.
Or a glimpse of the killer's mask.
Oh, yeah.
It's a technique called chiaroscuro,
Okay.
often used in thrillers to create that stark contrast
Mm-hmm.
between light and shadow.
Yeah.
Adds to the visual drama
Right.
and the psychological tension.
But it's not just what we see, but how we see it.
Exactly. Yeah.
The way the scenes are lit can really influence our emotional response.
Absolutely. And then there are the camera angles.
Okay.
He uses a lot of close-ups,
Mm-hmm.
particularly on the characters' faces,
Oh, wow.
which draws us into their emotional state.
Interesting.
We see their fear, their confusion, their desperation.
Yeah.
Like we're right there with them,
That's a good point.
experiencing that terror firsthand.
Yeah. It's like those close-ups are forcing us to confront the character's vulnerability.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it creates this sense of claustrophobia,
Oh, of course.
which is already heightened by the train setting.
Right.
Think about those tight shots in the narrow hallways
Mm-hmm.
or those train compartments. You feel trapped.
You do, right along with them.
The camera work is almost mimicking that feeling of being hunted,
Right.
having nowhere to escape.
It's a great observation. The camera often follows characters from behind, as if we're the ones stalking them,
Oh, so spooky.
which adds to the suspense.
Right.
And then you have those sudden cuts to the killer's POV,
Yeah.
puts us in the role of the aggressor,
Oh, wow.
makes us complicit in the terror.
Speaking of unsettling, what about the film's sound design?
Absolutely.
I imagine that plays a huge role in creating the atmosphere.
The soundtrack is filled with these eerie,
Yeah.
dissonant tones
Right.
that create a sense of unease.
Okay.
And then there are those diegetic sounds,
Yeah.
the noises that come from within the film's world,
Right.
the screeching of the train brakes, the
Right.
rhythmic chugging of the engine,
Yeah.
the muffled screams echoing through the corridors.
Yeah.
All these sounds work together to create this symphony of terror.
I like that. Constantly reminding us that we're trapped in this nightmare,
Yeah.
along with the characters.
It's like the train itself is a character,
Right.
groaning and creaking,
Yeah.
hurtling towards its destination.
And we're all along for the ride.
We are.
And then there are these moments of sudden silence,
Oh.
a stark contrast to the cacophony of sound that precedes it.
Uh-huh.
Those moments of quiet are often more unsettling
Yeah,
than the loud noises
I agree.
because they create a sense of anticipation,
Okay.
like something terrible is about to happen.
So it's like holding your breath,
Exactly.
waiting for the other shoe to drop.
And when it does, the impact is all the more powerful because of that carefully crafted buildup of tension.
Okay.
It's a testament to the director's skill
Uh-huh.
in using sound to manipulate our emotions,
Right.
keep us on the edge of our seats.
Okay, so we've covered the lighting, the camera angles, the sound design.
Yeah.
It's clear that the director really put a lot of thought into creating a truly chilling atmosphere.
He uses every cinematic tool at his disposal
Yeah.
to craft an experience that's both viscerally disturbing
Right.
and psychologically unsettling.
But what about the film's overall impact?
Okay.
How does Terror Train fit into the broader landscape of horror cinema?
Well, it's important to remember this film came out
Yeah.
during the golden age of slasher films,
Okay.
alongside classics like Halloween,
Right.
Friday the 13th.
Right.
But Terror Train doesn't just rely on the usual slasher tropes.
Okay.
It brings something unique to the table.
Okay. What's that?
A combination of suspense, psychological depth,
Uh-huh.
and social commentary.
So it's more than just a mindless bloodbath.
Much more.
Okay.
It's a film that makes you think.
Yeah.
It stays with you long after the credits roll.
Mm-hmm.
And while it may not have achieved the same level of mainstream recognition as some of its contemporaries,
Yeah.
Terror Train has garnered a dedicated following
Really?
over the years.
Why do you think that is?
Well-
What sets it apart?
It's that blend of genres.
Okay.
The way it combines the thrills of a slasher film
Uh-huh.
with the psychological tension of a Hitchcockian thriller.
Okay.
It also has that unique setting,
Right.
the train,
The train.
which adds to the claustrophobia
Oh,
and that
nice.
sense of being trapped.
Yeah. And the film's exploration of trauma and its lasting effects gives it a depth that many horror films lack.
Right.
It's like Terror Train is a bridge between the classic slashers of the 70s and 80s
Yeah,
and the more psychologically driven horror films that came later.
that's a great way to put it.
Oh, thanks.
It's a film that pushes the boundaries of the genre,
Yeah.
exploring these deeper themes and anxieties, while still delivering those satisfying slasher thrills.
It does. And it's a film that continues to influence horror filmmakers today.
Yeah.
You can see its DNA in films like Saw,
Yeah.
Cube,
Yeah.
which also use confined settings and masked killers to create a sense of claustrophobia and dread.
Exactly. Terror Train laid the groundwork for a whole subgenre of horror that focuses on psychological terror,
Okay.
where the true horror comes not from the gore, but from the character's internal struggles
Interesting.
and the constant threat of the unknown.
So it's a film that deserves to be recognized for its innovation
I think so.
and its lasting impact on the genre.
Absolutely.
Mm.
Terror Train is a reminder that horror can be more than just cheap thrills.
Totally.
It can be a powerful tool for exploring our deepest fears
Right.
and anxieties.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
We talked about the plot, the setting,
Mm-hmm.
the filmmaking techniques, the film's legacy.
Yeah.
But before we wrap up our deep dive,
Sure.
let's zoom in on the characters
Okay.
who inhabit this terrifying world. Okay, so we're in the final act of our Terror Train deep dive.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the passengers,
Great.
the people on this terrifying ride.
Yeah, each character in their own way reflects the film's exploration of
Yeah.
hidden identities
Okay.
and the consequences of our actions.
Yeah.
They're not just victims.
Right.
They're complex individuals
Uh-huh.
with their own secrets and motivations.
Let's start with Jamie Lee Curtis.
Oh, yeah.
Alana.
Right.
She really stands out,
She does.
especially when you consider that stereotypical final girl trope
Right.
in horror movies.
The final girl is usually the last one standing.
Yeah.
Often because she's the most virtuous
Yeah.
or innocent.
Right.
But Alana's different.
I agree.
She's smart,
Yeah.
resourceful,
Uh-huh.
and she's not afraid to fight back.
Right.
But what makes her truly compelling
Yeah.
is her empathy,
Okay.
how she interacts with the other characters,
Mm.
even though they're terrified,
Yeah.
making reckless decisions.
Uh-huh.
Alana tries to reason with them
Right.
to appeal to their better nature.
She sees them as human beings,
Exactly.
even when they're at their worst.
Even at their worst.
It's like she represents this glimmer of hope in this dark and chaotic situation.
A glimmer of hope. That's a good way to put it.
Thank-
She's a reminder that even in the face of unimaginable horror,
Right.
we can choose compassion and understanding
Mm-hmm.
over fear and revenge.
Okay, let's talk about the train conductor,
Oh, yeah.
played by the legendary Ben Johnson.
Oh, yeah.
He brings a certain gravitas.
Right. He's like a steady anchor.
Yeah.
In the midst of all that chaos,
Mm-hmm.
represents order and authority,
Right.
which is constantly being challenged by the killer's actions.
It's interesting that even in this heightened, terrifying situation,
Yeah.
the film still makes room for a character like the conductor.
It's a testament to the film's commitment to creating a believable world,
Yeah.
even within the confines of a horror film.
Yeah.
The conductor reminds us that even in the darkest of times,
Yeah.
there's still people
Mm-hmm.
trying to maintain some semblance of normalcy
Uh-huh.
and control.
And then there's the masked killer,
Oh, right.
who remains a mystery for
Yeah.
most of the film.
Mysterious.
Their ever-changing identity adds to the paranoia and suspense. Right, keeps us guessing
It says guessing.
until the very end.
Yeah, the killer embodies the film's exploration
Yeah.
of hidden identities.
We see them as different people throughout the film,
Right.
wearing different masks and costumes.
Right. It's like they're a reflection of our own tendency to hide our true selves.
Right.
To present a certain face to the world
Yeah.
while keeping our secrets buried deep inside.
It's a chilling reminder
It is.
that we can never truly know what's lurking beneath the surface
Mm-hmm.
in others
Right.
and in ourselves.
The killer's shifting identity also forces us to confront this idea
Yeah.
that evil isn't always easy to recognize.
It can hide
Yeah.
in plain sight,
Right.
disguised as something familiar
Right.
or even harmless.
It's like the film is saying that the monster isn't always the one wearing the most obvious mask.
That's a great point.
Thanks. The film challenges our assumptions about who to trust
Yeah,
and who to fear,
it does.
reminding us that the line between good and evil,
Can be blurry and unpredictable.
it can be.
So as we reach the final station on this deep dive,
Okay.
what's the key takeaway you want our listeners to walk away with?
I think the most important message of Terror Train
Yeah.
is that our actions have consequences.
Yeah.
And those consequences
Mhm.
can ripple outward in ways we may never fully anticipate.
Right.
The film also reminds us that trauma can leave lasting scars,
Yeah.
not just on individuals,
Mm-hmm.
but on entire communities.
It encourages us to look beyond the surface,
It does.
to consider the hidden motivations and past experiences
Right.
that shape our behavior.
Exactly. It's a chilling ride,
It is.
but it's also a thought-provoking one
I agree.
that leaves us with some unsettling truths
Yeah.
about ourselves and the world we live in.
So if you're ready for a horror film that's more than just jump scares and gore,
Yeah,
hop aboard the terror train.
I think you should.
It's a journey into the dark heart of human nature.
Yeah.
And it's one you won't soon forget.
It's a wild ride.
That's it for this deep dive.
Yeah.
See you next time.
All right, Gene.